Yeah, absolutely. It's great to be here. So, yeah, Tim Brown, CISO for SolarWinds. Been here for about 8 years. So, Sunburst attack happened. We're just past its 5-year anniversary. So I guess I'm at 8.5 years now. So, been a while. And before that, I, you know, cut my teeth on security, running architecture and strategy for Symantec early on. Did a lot of different products, built a lot of products. I was CTO for a number of different organizations and their security groups. So really been touching on security for over 30 years. So been in some place associated with security, either building products, helping implement products, or in some cases protecting environments.
Great. And on the news today, I just see that the SEC dropped the last charge against you. So this is completely over the SolarWinds, the Sunburst incident for you on that aspect. So you are done now.
Yeah, so it took 5 years. So it was a long process, right?
Yeah.
First attacked by the Russian SVR, and worked through that. Then charges surprisingly got brought against me as well as the company from the SEC. So that process took about 3 years to go through to get it from start to finish. So yeah, just everybody very, very relieved that we were able to, the case was completely dropped.
Yeah.
And I think that helps kind of set a tone for, other CISOs are really concerned. The legal process, especially in the U.S., we're just very litigious. So you expect to get sued for different things. And that litigious process got moved over to government and trying to, really, I think their motivations were good. They were trying to improve security for public companies, and in many ways that might have happened. So, but we're completely glad it's over. Okay. So it's a big relief just to have that off of your shoulders.
Yeah, I guess so. And today, so as a CISO of SolarWinds, what is your focus? What are your focus today?
Yeah, we're entering a whole new realm, which is really a very interesting inflection point, right? Being a little older, right? I saw the internet start, right? That which was an inflection point of its own, right? Think about no internet. And then think about internet coming in and what you could do and the connectivity and just the changes that happened there. Then you think about cloud, right? Think about that one as a evolution that, we predicted many years before of what would be possible if everything was SaaS-based, everything was cloud-based. And we're not at everything, right? But we're at a majority of things, and many things being able to be interconnected around the world. And then, I think social as another evolution point, right? That happened, that changed the way we work, changed the way that we share, changed the way that we build. AI is going to hit another one of these evolutions. And so it's already started, and it's going to affect things beyond, cyber, beyond our normal technology route. It's going to affect the way that, humans do business, humans have life, humans research, humans live. So when we think about those inflection points, what's going to happen on the security realm there? So that's what's exciting now, really, is you can either be scared of it or you can embrace it and be like, wow, this is going to be great. It's going to be different. A lot of things to figure out. There'll be mistakes along the way, but we'll work through it, figure it out, and push forward to kind of that next era. So that's what's real exciting right now.
Okay, I love the spirit, and I share the same enthusiasm about this new breakthrough. Okay, so on the AI, how combine this new wave of innovation, breakthrough innovation that is AI. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that you'll see that right now we're focused on tactical on the AI front, right?
Yeah,
We're focused on, oh, if I have a SOC agent, right, I can have more efficient SOC agents
yeah,
as opposed to humans,
yeah.
right? Same for support, same for other things, which are fine. They're good. They will be helpful, but as kind of security professionals, we need to start thinking about how we change the game. Because the things that are tactical aren't going to change our
Mm.
game. They're not going to change the model. They'll make it a little bit harder for adversaries, but not exponentially harder. So we have to think about different things that we couldn't do before, and that we can now do in an AI world. So one of the ideas that has been floating around has been to embrace more complexity. Right? We've been trying to take out complexity
Mm.
out of the systems for 25 years. We've made it easier. We've made it so the human brain can understand it. We've done fantastic jobs of consolidation. So we have a single identity provider. We have networks that are understandable. But why, right? What happens if you go to multiple identity providers? I have 100. What happens if I do super micro segmentation that nobody can understand except the AI? Do I become more resilient to attack? And do I get into much more of a resilient mindset? So that's when things start getting excited, re-architecting things for the AI era, and not be limited by number of people, not be limited by what we can only think about from a human perspective. Then we start creating truly resilient systems. So that starts getting even more exciting.
Okay. If I rephrase, you said that maybe with the AI, well, today there are a lot of kind of tactical win, but this is not where the gain are the greater. It's more about rethinking the system and maybe about the complexity before we try to centralize everything, but also it's yeah, there are risks here because you have only one identity provider. By I don't know, having 100 identity provider, the idea is that
You
if
can move laterally, right? Why
yeah,
should you be able to be moved laterally, right? Why does your manufacturing line go down? Why isn't it completely separate? Well, it was, well, that's the way we conceived it,
okay.
right? So what if we were re-architect? So think about why we don't have military grade infrastructure. It's because of cost.
Mm,
What if we take that cost out of the picture using AI to allow us all to have military grade infrastructures? So that's the type of thing that I think that's the exciting part. The tactical thing is good, right? And the
yeah.
tactical areas will probably fund the more strategic areas, but we want to make sure we keep in mind the strategic areas. So yeah, that's what excites me about the next few years is we're gonna be able to, see major advancements in a number of areas and really make us, much more resilient to the adversaries. So that's our objective and goal.
Okay, no, no, really interesting. So yeah, kind of focus for you, the main focus for you in the today and the coming years is it's about that. Okay.
And
Uh,
then helping the community embrace
yeah,
it, right? Helping the
yeah,
community embrace. One of the things about Sunburst that came out a lot was the CISO community around the world
yeah,
really rallied around me
yeah.
and really supported me to a great extent. And I'm humbled and so thankful for them. And the same thing we need to do with the community that we've driven and grown for information sharing. We need to continue to grow that for our next generation, right? And our next generation of technology, our next generation of resilience.
Mm.
So that's going to be another another kind of goal for me is to help the community stop focusing on legal issues, help the community stop focusing on, worrying about, the liability that showed up in my case.
Mm.
Try to get controls in place, try to get rules in place that help lessen that concern and allow them to do their job to the best extent that they can. And then at the same time, that will allow us to move, forward into this kind of new reality, quicker and better and more powerful.
Yeah, and I really think about the AI. What we are missing today, I think it's use case of breakthrough example, breakthrough use case from use cases from CISO, from SolarWinds to implement a new system, and as you do with SolarWinds aftermath, talking about that, and also it helps the CISO community to improve also their resilience, their muscle on the some aspect of the cyber security. I think on the AI, maybe we are don't we on the CISO, but especially in Europe, in France, where I'm more connected. There are not that much example of CISO talking about AI system they implemented and that breakthrough for them on the resilience they get from that. Okay.
Yep. Agreed.
But thanks a lot, team. I just want to talk about the sunburst incident. Before that, I just want to look back a bit before the incident. Is it possible to talk about before the incident? What was your team, cyber team, at SolarWinds? How many people? Had?
So we had a very good program and a good team. We met regularly with our executive team, with the board on a general basis. So we had the structures in place. As a product company, you end up getting vulnerabilities reported externally, right? We have 300,000 customers or so, 50 or so products. So we'll get vulnerabilities reported from clients. What we ended up doing is like treating all of those as incidents. And so we had an incident tracking system in place to enable us to track who reported, track things from open to close to fix. So those systems and processes were had been tried and true. So we had good relationships with our legal team. We had good relationships with our executive team. We had good relationships with our marketing team, communications teams, so product teams. All of those were in place prior to the incident. And that really helped us when the major incident occurred, because one of the things that we see that break down in major incidents often is the team associated with the incident. It's the first time they've been working together. For us, that wasn't the case, right? We had been working together on many different things. Normal day-to-day stuff. A machine is stolen in France, right? So what's our rules, right? If a laptop is stolen, was it encrypted? Was it not encrypted? What data did it have on it? So those basic things we treated as an incident.
Yeah.
And if it happened in a certain country, we'd ask legal, what do we have to do about it, right? How do we report it? So we had those channels to be able to do appropriate things with an incident. So that gave us a huge advantage when the incident occurred, that we were not coming into something unknown, right? The team really did know each other. We trusted each other that, to perform what we needed to get done. So before program was good and just not good enough to combat the Russians. And that's a fact, right? That it wasn't good enough to combat the Russians. And the Russians, the SVR ran a good program.
Mm,
Compromised email first. You already wrote about it. So, but, compromised email first, then came in and, did a test run in October, came back in February with 3,000 lines of code, then
mm,
left in June. So just a well-run program not to get caught.
mm, mm,
So, could we have been better? Yes. So post incident, we really focused on being exemplary
mm,
and not just good enough.
mm,
Before we were good enough, post incident, we really focused on, well, how can we assume breach everywhere? How can we assume that even though this didn't have an insider component, what if it did, right? So how do we make sure that one person's, that's compromised doesn't affect things like our build system? So hence inventing of a triple build environment, double redundancy checks, all things to make sure that if you have one bad actor in place, then you can't affect our builds any longer.
yeah.
Two, three, you need three insiders right now to affect our build. So really looking at how we can be exemplary, and that helped the whole recovery process.
And to give us a bit more context, maybe SolarWinds before the incident, how many employees?
Yeah,
Were
SolarWinds about 2,000 employees or so,
okay.
2,000, 2,300-ish, operating in a number of different countries around the world. Um, Public company back then, about 800 million of revenue.
Mm,
Um, so that kind of company's profile, lots of customers, but some customers just use engineering tool set, right, that we've had for a long time. So, but then the Orion system, one of our core products, been around for 20 years.
impressive. And I and the cybersecurity team, so your team, it's a kind of 20 people or some this kind of ratio at that time, or
Yeah. So, the team was good size, so direct folks. So we split it, right? So we have people that are directly in the team itself.
mm,
Then as an engineering team, I had security people in each one of those teams.
okay,
And then we had chief architect over those, over the development side, and then we had champions in different places.
okay,
So we really did a matrix organization, but it was very reasonable for what we needed to get done,
yeah,
and yeah, reasonable is not enough to take care of a nation state, though, right?
yeah,
And that's the question, right? That everyone has to realize is that you can put safeguards in place, you can put things in place, but how much do you model those who are going to invest millions into attacking you,
mm,
right? And does it make sense to be able to put that in place? So we had a very reasonable programs, very reasonable set of activities, very, kind of really, yeah, good models in place. Really good doesn't take care of nation state. So you
yeah,
truly need to be exemplary to take care of a nation state attack. And you have to model it, you have to look at it, you have to do more around the outside, you have to do more protection, more visibility, all of those things. So yeah,
yeah. Oh,
that's
okay. No, it's a clear. Thanks for this context. So I think this is a good transition to maybe the incident. Maybe take us to the first moment you realized that something was wrong. What did
yeah.
you know? What was still unclear when you learned? It's what I think this is a communication from Fire High, so Mandiant at that time, who sent you an email or something like that.
Yeah, so December 12th was the day that we found out, right? Really was. We had no idea that anything was going on.
Mm,
Hindsight, yeah, we see some signs, but December 12th was the big surprise, right? That was, basically Kevin Mandia calling our CEO, Kevin Thompson, and saying that, we ship tainted code. That was a Saturday. That kicked off the investigation, but we had no inkling that something was really happening before that. Um, and yeah, so that day we were able to, since we had enough practice and enough relationships. Remember, this is Saturday in the middle of COVID.
Mm.
Uh, we were able to, get the right people together on the phone and start an investigation and determine a lot of things before. Um, so a couple things they said, right? First off, that we had shipped tainted code. Second one was that our email system was compromised. That Microsoft was going to call us and tell us about that, um, and that it was going to go public on Sunday.
Mm.
So essentially, we had about 24 hours or so to be able to be prepared for the world response. So big rush, but with those preparations that we did beforehand, we
Mm.
knew who to call, right? We knew who to get together. We
Mm.
knew who internally to be able to talk to. So amazing amount of research that went on that first day, right? First off, it was real. For second, we figured out that it affected 3 builds, there was a test run in October. That was just not malicious. We found out that 18,000 customers had downloaded those versions. So all of this is within the first 24 hours and that allowed us to publicly state what we knew. And I have to give credit to our team, right? Our team was able to get, how do you do that? Well, you need information from engineering. You need our support information. You need our customer service information. You need download information. So we needed all of these things to be able to be prepared. Then at the same time, we needed to stand up a website that was, replaced our normal website that gave people that information and helped FAQs. Then we had to prepare for answers for the world calling us and asking questions. So our internal comms and our marketing folks were, updating our website information, hourly, daily, you name it. So all of these things came together because we had not been through this experience, ever before, but we've done enough lesser things to be able to work together well. Um, then we had good help coming from the outside. So DLA Piper, so global legal firm, has a great cyber arm. So they helped a fantastic amount. They helped really coordinate us. And because during one of these incidents, you can't be expected to be the coordinator. There's so much going on. What you can expect someone like me to do is be able to show up when I'm needed and then manage a few different things. What DLA helped us do is split us into groups and say, okay, we knew marketing, CMO handled marketing. No
Mm.
one else touches comms. No one else says anything to anybody without
Mm.
CMO. Legal handles legal and law enforcement. Engineering figures out how they got into our build system, what they changed. That's the other thing we knew on Saturday, that it wasn't in our source code control system, but it was in the build process. But we didn't know how. We didn't know how it got there.
Mm.
IT figures out how they got in, what they did, helps CrowdStrike instrument everything.
Mm.
So very important to be able to quickly structure your team, put leaders that everybody can trust in place, and then you get busy. But you don't second guess each one of these leaders because they have to work well together in order to get things done as fast as they needed to get done.
This is really interesting. And for instance, compared to the past incidents you mentioned just before,
Yep.
smaller incident, how quickly you change your mind? You say, okay, this is not the kind of I have a plan for the laptop which get lost in France, for instance. How
Yes.
quickly you change your mind and say we need help, we need DLB.
So as soon as we knew it was going to be huge, right? We knew it was going to be global. So getting some experts that had gone through big events before
Yeah.
was extremely important, extremely helpful. Um, So our normal coordinators, right, our normal incident response coordinators,
Yeah.
this was beyond what we had incidents that we had to do marketing for, different incidents we had to do communications for. Somebody inappropriately, shares data between one person and another, so you get legal involved. Those types of things were sort of normal. This was at such a different scale, right? You had to have appropriate contacts to the FBI, appropriate
Yeah.
contacts. We had contacts into CISA, but appropriate contacts in many different places. So our legal folks help, or our DLA folks helped with that.
Mm.
Then you get all the discovery prep because
Mm.
you're going to get sued in
Mm.
the US. So you start collecting all of the information. You make sure everything is discoverable, everything is clear. So you
Mm.
have that side of the world. So it's just a very different experience than your normal incident. And expecting kind of the CISO is a member of the team to help with this,
Yeah.
but they're not capable at that time of coordinating everything. So
Mm.
either you assign an internal coordinator
Mm.
that is uh, that's smart enough to be able to have gone through one of these major things,
Mm.
or you get an external one.
Mm.
The we got a great external helpers. So that allowed us to, and they organize things. They
Yeah.
organize the meetings every night. They organize the right things, the right processes. So very important to have the good third parties and it's good to test those things. But major incidents of this scale
Yeah.
are, just different to manage.
And so my question is it part of a plan? So before the incident, you already selected Piper for if there is kind of a critical incident, it's a DLA
Yeah.
people
One of
who,
the things so one of the things I found is that the paper plan isn't enough.
yeah,
Um, and if you were going to do a sufficient plan, it would be a mile high of paper, right?
yeah,
So how do you get to a better structure? And one of the things we saw was all people,
mm,
right? So one of the companies that I help and advise is Cytactic, and they provide technology
mm,
to help with this process, to help with crisis management, to help guide you for crisis management. And so also bring the teams together so you
mm,
can tabletop on the platform as well.
mm,
Because we had no technology,
yeah,
right? And again, 5 years ago, there wasn't technology that could help us.
mm,
And so we had paper stuff, we had regular plan.
yeah,
The other thing to note is, one of the reasons why the incident went so, we went as smoothly as we could,
yeah,
and that was because it was so bad. All right, so why would it be so bad, and why would that be helpful?
mm,
So the reason why it was so helpful is because we got the best of the best of the best.
mm,
We didn't get tier 2 or tier 3 players
yeah,
to helping us. We got, the leaders of the groups helping us, right? We got, you know, Ron from DLA Piper Plesco leads the team associated with their crisis management. We got the leaders from CrowdStrike helping us get deployed, Adam and team. We got the leaders from Microsoft helping on the other side. So it was so big of an issue that you get the best of the best. I know it sounds kind of strange, but because it was so bad, you got the best help that was possible. And you can't always count on that, though. So if you're not getting the best of the best, then you have to have better preparation. You have to have better planning. You have to have um, better, better documentation, better plans, better testing, better tabletops. So all of those things led to saying that you need more technology,
mm,
right? And that technology can really help you both in the planning stage, tabletop stage, small incident stage to large incident stage. So that's really the direction that crisis and incident management's going. We're starting to get good technology there. So that's going to be a big help.
Interesting. Yeah. See, and if I rephrase on the process side, this is a DLA paper with a tier one firm, law firm that help you manage all the incidents, the incidents, especially with the connection to the FBI, with their connection to FBI and other, I think, kind of security departments. What was your role inside that incident response team then?
Good question. So one of the things that people naively believe is that the CISO kind of sets tone for something this big. And all organizations that I've ever worked in, the CEO is sitting at the front of the table. The business on the line, right? This could shut us down. So CEO hopefully takes advice and information and asks questions, and our CEO did that very well. But so you're playing a role of, so depends on the skill sets, right? So for me, I was playing a role of translator often. What does this make sense? Is this what we can say? Is this an appropriate response for us to do? I ran the CISO relationship, and CISO was extremely important for us from our recovery perspective. They were a fantastic partner that was amplifying the truth. They were not sugarcoating anything. They weren't, but if we proved to them that these builds were untainted, they could recommend that you do a certain action. Oh, these builds are untainted. Just go to the latest build, which has been, proven to be good. These builds are tainted. Okay, if you do this, follow these instructions. So CISO was an extremely important partner because it wasn't Tim Brown saying to do these things. It was CISO saying to do these things. And their help, we were able to really, help the community, go through and do the right things to be able to make sure that they were safe. And that was our CEO's tone. It was, how do we help customers? How do we help customers? Let's help customers. What do we need to do to help customers? Let's get them in a better place. So we did plans and programs to be able to help migrate them to versions that were safe, to do investigations for them, to get on the phone with them and determine if they were affected or not. All of those types of programs were how do we support customers, which was the primary goal set by the CEO, and an appropriate goal. So the other one is, that came out a little bit later, which was not really by choice so much as you get people calling up and saying, I want to talk to the CISO. And so you have to talk to them, whether it's countries calling you, it's literally, and the largest of large companies. So you end up talking to people, and then you talk to more. People were very curious about what a nation state attack looked like. That's what it was starting out as. What is this? What do they do? How do they do it? How did they compromise email? And then they were reading email why were they doing reconnaissance for a year before they tried an implementation? What do you mean they got into your build system and didn't touch source control? Unbelievable, kind of tradecraft. Well, why didn't any of your 18,000 customers that downloaded it see the problem? Well, it waited 14 days before it started and it was quiet. So the tradecraft has to be appreciated, that it was a thoughtful attack. So nobody was talking about those before us. So that way we're able to help people understand a little bit of a glimpse. This is not science fiction. This is just good tradecraft from, the Russian SVR, from an offensive, cyber perspective.
Okay.
So
yeah,
all of those helped.
Okay, so if I rephrase, your role was to act as a kind of consultant or translator between the maybe technical teams and decision makers, so the CEO, for instance. Also,
That's one of them.
a second role was to talk to governments, mostly or big clients, because they want to directly speak with a CISO. And the last one is more about the impact, also kind of communication role about the impact of the incident, because the news
And
was
then,
all over
yeah,
all over the world.
then working across the other teams to
Yeah,
make sure that they weren't hitting bottlenecks, right?
yeah,
So, for example, the certificate authority was going to revoke one of our certs,
yeah.
our signing cert, and somebody somewhere said, "Well, we're going to do it in 3 weeks or 6 weeks or something," which was impossible,
Mm,
right, for us to rebuild 50 products in 6 weeks. So I said, did we call them? And the answer was, well, you can. Who would you call? So you get to the cert authority through Microsoft, through DigiCert, and then you get on the phone with the guy who wrote the spec. And he was like, there's nowhere in the spec that I say that this needs to be 6 weeks. How much time do you need?
mm,
The spec says we want to be reasonable so that this can be used for what it's supposed to. And I said, well, we need about 2 months. And he said, yeah, no problem. But
okay.
so watching out for fires that needed to be put out and helping where I could help. So at the same time, my team is running day to day.
Mm,
So I really had to count on my team to be there to run, our normal daily operations
mm,
because, December 13th, I was spread to very different things. So you also have to have depth in your team in order to say, okay, what happens? Because I essentially got hit by a bus,
mm,
right? Tim's gone. He's here a little bit, but he's off doing other things. How do we work independently and help with the recovery,
mm,
and then help with day to day? While Tim's out of pocket because he's off and doing other things. So the team strength that you have has to be able to be capable of that. And luckily, I had a fantastic team that was able to do a lot of that.
really interesting. So, yeah, you had a kind of about the bottleneck. So focus on the bottleneck and bring your help. But also the second aspect you mentioned is about there's a daily routine, because uh, of course there's this bus, but you get hit by. But there are your other products, your other clients that run every day, use every day all your products, and maybe there are still incidents and you need to manage it. Okay, really interesting. And you mentioned something also about the business role. So the CEO really was really implicated in the response of this incident,
Yeah.
because this is all the
So
company at risk.
we had two different war rooms set up, one upstairs, one in our conference room downstairs. So probably 10 of us upstairs.
Yeah,
That was the CEO, the CFO, the CMO, legal, general counsel, few other folks upstairs, CFO, and it was, especially for the first 3 weeks, right,
mm,
from December 12th to the end of the year. We were basically living there,
okay,
um, uh, and just there all the time. There was We had apartments across the street that we get a few hours of sleep in, but come back. Just so much to do in the first weeks of an incident that yeah, you have to be as efficient as possible. So getting everybody in the same rooms or same building or something. And again, this was in the middle of COVID, but we still just knew we had to get together. So we got tested for COVID, but we were, basically there. Took
mm,
Christmas Day off. That's it. And what the time frame between Christmas and New Year's, the world slows down.
yeah,
That allowed us to catch up because we worked through it. Um, and that allowed us to solidify all of our messages. That allowed us to polish up the responses that we were giving. That got us better FAQs. That got our support queue down. You're talking support queues in tens of thousands, or so yeah. So being able to have that time where the world slowed down. By the time the world came back after New Year's, things were pretty structured and a little bit, it just allowed us to catch up with things.
Yeah.
So it was less discovery at that point and just more communications of what we knew.
And during these 2-3 weeks, what a typical day looks like? What did a typical day look like? I don't know if there's a kind of typical day, but maybe do
So
you
typical day would be
daily exec briefing?
We got in around 7 in the morning, and started up with just finding out where we were, right? What was going on. Then your day was filled with escalation meetings and escalated things that you had to take care of. So somebody was managing schedule and calendars. And then check-ins with each one of the groups to see, okay, how are we progressing here? How are we progressing here? How are we progressing here? Anything anybody need to help with on the progression side. Then customer calls throughout the day and many different things, right? Briefing FBI, customer calls, briefing of lawyers, so your day is filled with different things that are going on. And then people often ask, well, why do you have to be there until 2 a.m, right? So essentially we got together at 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. There was a board meeting, that after that, we would start looking at documentation. So just looking at documentation, determining, okay, is this correct? Is it good? Everything that was getting put out was reviewed through legal, usually reviewed through me and the CMO, and then we would post stuff. So that type of stuff went on at essentially at night, till we got to then end of night was sometimes 1, sometimes 2 in the morning. I think we did 11 o'clock at night, and then you do it again, and you keep going till things sort of settle down, because you have to remember that this hit worldwide, and the number of inquiries you get are just massive. So we had people that were taking calls. We had our customer support teams. We had escalation models in place. We had all of these things in place just to kind of move forward through the process. And then you always have hiccups that need to get kind of fixed during these process. So super busy, super intense. Everybody's working together, so you're getting more done than you've ever got done before. And each one kind of independently doing things. That's the other part that's really important, right? That you don't take time to second guess your co-leaders. The CIO's got it. He knows that he's working with CrowdStrike to instrument every machine in the system and figure out, or in our environment, figure out if they're still there, right? So that's his job. He's got it, and he's going to tell us how we're doing, right? But nobody's second guessing that he's going to be able to do that, right? So those types of things are super important to be able to. That's why the people side of a response is so important, right? We weren't second guessing each other. We were supporting each other, but not second guessing each other.
Maybe just, but this is a good transition. I have one question about maybe on the human level, or especially for you, when there is this kind of incident and the magnitude of the incident, how did you personally survive it with all the stress, maybe the decision fatigue, because it lasts a few weeks.
Yeah.
How did you
So
keep functioning and
yes.
have a kind
So,
of a clear mental?
so the first 3 weeks are very hard, right? They're intense. Yeah, I lost 25 pounds in 3 weeks. I was eating fine, but I just couldn't keep weight on, just because you're under so much pressure. The I think a lot of the kind of my past skills work became important, right? So through prior jobs and prior things, I testified to Congress a few times. I've been in pressure situations. I have represented, the largest of the large companies to, the largest of the large customers. So I was used to being able to talk to, thousands of people on calls or hundreds of people. I was used to being able to take hard questions, be yelled at, right? Often it's nothing personal. They're just, we've screwed up their Christmas, right? Because they had to go and investigate it. So you have to realize that you're not just, you're not going through this. All of your customers are going through it as well. So one thing that I tell CISOs is that, you make sure that during one of these that you find the place that you can help and help, right? You don't go into the background. You don't disappear. You stay there and do whatever is necessary to help, and figure out where the place that you can help is. And it will be different for different people, but very critical that you're helpful during this process and you're there during this process. The more and better you do in the first few weeks, the more you're set up to get out of the situation with a good outcome. So, very critical to be able to, have the right tone set, the right model set, the right approach set, and be able to work through it. But even if in the first few months are hard, nobody says anything good about you, right? So if you look at press, right, nobody said anything good about me for 4 months, and it's just something you have to accept that bad news is usually more prevalent than good news, right? So you'll get news that's inappropriate. You'll get news that's not true. You'll get news that is taken out of context. You'll get, your name used, so many articles, SolarWinds attacks, so-and-so. And so-and-so wasn't even a customer of ours. But what they wanted to say was the same attackers that attacked SolarWinds also attacked so-and-so. But it was shorter to say SolarWinds. So we got so many out of context things and just things that weren't true going through the press. So you have to be able to grow a hard shell around those things and accept the fact that, it's going to be a difficult period of time, but you'll get through it. But that's what it took about 3 months to finally get through to some folks, appreciating what we did.
Okay, so if I rephrase, so there's two answers. One is if you survive personally because you have a kind of experience during a crisis, because before that you handle a situation with a lot of pressure. And the second aspect is in this kind of incident, just you need to accept all the bad press and the bad news, and just saying to yourself that it will be better in a few months, in your case, not a few weeks, but a few months. So you just need to survive a few months. And
in my mindset, right, was to fix the problem.
yeah,
Right?
okay, also.
Fix it, right? Fix the problem. How do I fix the problem? Okay, what do I need to do to fix it, right? And in our case was, okay, well, we know what versions are good. We know what versions are bad. I need to get trust back into our customers in order for them to get to a correct, safe version. Then I need to try to save the company, right? I need to be able to work with folks to convince them that you know, yes, it happened, right? And no question it happened. But, what have we done from a safeguard perspective to make sure it doesn't happen again?
Mm.
And then have enough of those things to show that we're, exemplary in security, and it will be much more difficult for it ever to happen again. Hence, bring trust back into the environment of end result was great, right? So that took a little while. Our just one of the measures that I use is renewal rates. So our renewal rate prior to the incident was about 92%,
Mm.
dropped down to the 80s during the incident.
Mm.
Our last public quarter, which was about a year ago, right, was at 98%.
Mm.
So we fully recovered from the incident, fully brought trust back inside of the customer base, because of the outreach that we've done, in part. First off, our products are great. People love them. That's never discount that. They want to use them. What
Mm.
they needed was um, enough facts to be able to go to their board and their executive team and say, well, I want to stay with SolarWinds. Well, why do you want to do that? Well, SolarWinds got hit. They're stronger than anybody else. SolarWinds did these things. They're stronger than anybody else. SolarWinds has been outreach and has been communicating to the community throughout the whole process. Yes, they were hit by Russia. How many of us would have survived that hit? So they were able to explain why to stay with SolarWinds to their infrastructure, their executive teams and
Yeah.
boards, and that became very important. But that wouldn't have happened if they didn't love the products.
Mm.
So always think about that, right? It's not just my response; it's that the customers truly wanted to stay with us because we're giving extreme meaning to their environment. We're helping to give them visibility. So all of those factors came into play from a response, and we were able to survive. We were able to thrive, and we were able to help people learn. Right. So first off, learn about a nation state attack. Then second off, learn about the whole legal process of U.S., the crazy legal process, and what goes through there. And yeah, we made our choices to be able to fight. We fought hard. We didn't agree with any of the allegations, and we ended up winning.
Mm.
So a really good outcome from this whole process is that we're an example. We're an example that gets taught in schools and taught in
Mm.
universities now. People run courses on how we did things. So it's a good outcome from being transparent is an appropriate response in the right circumstances. And in our model or in our instance, it really was be transparent, talk to people, show them what's going on at individual points in time, builds trust, and it was real, right? It wasn't, we're not just marketing out there. We're trying to share good
Mhm.
knowledge and information.
Yeah, but well, I heard that it took a few years because it took time to regain trust. When you say last year you have your churn rate, a better churn rate than before the incident. And this is true that now I see a lot of talks that you made about SolarWinds, and it's really an example for us. And thanks again, Tim, for your time on that aspect to kind of deep dive on this incident, talk it freely and in a transparent way. Actually, this is not every company get hit by the Russia at that scale. So yeah, this is really helpful. I know we have 1 or 2 minutes left. I have only one question for you. If you had to distill a kind of one lesson for CISO, what would it be for
Yeah.
you?
So there's a number of important things right now. So we're, support efforts to get us to rules and processes that are acceptable. Till we get there, right? Make sure that you have a well-documented position of what you do, what you don't do. That's an important side of the kind of just the legal aspect. From a preparedness perspective, make sure you prepare, make sure the teams work well together, make sure you tabletop and test, use small incidents to be able to model for big incidents so that you're just prepared for response. Things that go through a good response, really can come out of the other end with, success. So preparedness, a lot of it comes down to the CISO activities that they need to do to make sure that they're prepared. And so those are the big messages for the CISO communities.
Thanks, teams. That's all from my side. Is there anything else you would like to add, or any question I may have missed you want to talk about?
No, I think we're great. So thank you for the opportunity. Always good to talk. And yeah, this has been a good opportunity for everybody to learn. And that's the way that we need to look at it. And sharing gets us better.
But thank you very much for your time and for your transparency, team. Honestly, as I said at the beginning, I find you truly inspiring, staying at the helm throughout the incident and still being there today at SolarWinds is a kind of real demonstration of leadership. So yeah, thanks again, team, and yeah, bye.
Thank you.